All right, guys, now we're going to read chapter 3, and it's called VIRUS, which spells virus. All right? Dear first grade journal, it is still Friday. We just came in from recess, and we are waiting for Mrs. Weller to talk to us about germs. May started holding her nose again, and Sheldon put another paper bag on his head. Today is an interesting day in room 1. From Junie B., first grader. Just then there was a knock at our door, and Mrs. Weller came in. Mr. Scary went to meet her. Mrs. Weller, I'm very glad you could come back, he said. Room 1 is still really worried about what happened to Roger this morning. We need some advice about how to stay healthy. Mrs. Weller's eyes glanced over to Sheldon's bag head. Mr. Scary's eyes glanced over there too. Some of us are a little more worried than others, he said. Mrs. Weller went to the board and she printed some big letters. VIRUS, virus, she said. These letters spell the word virus. Have any of you heard that word before? Lucille jumped right up. I have. My Nana grows viruses all over the place. You should see our house, nurse. Sometimes we have fresh viruses in every single room. For a second, Mrs. Weller's face went funny. Then, all of a sudden, a light bulb came on in her head, I think. Oh, I think you mean irises, Lucille. Irises are very beautiful flowers, but viruses are little tiny germs that make people sick. Lucille started fluffing her hair, very embarrassed. Then she fluffed and fluffed and fluffed until finally she sat down again. Mrs. Weller kept on talking. Boys and girls, there's a stomach virus going around school, and I'm thinking your classmate Roger has it now. May caught her head nodded her head and pointed at herself. That's why I'm holding my nose, she said. See me, Mrs. Weller? I'm being smart by not breathing the germy air. Mrs. Weller looked puzzled. Well, you're still breathing, May, she explained. The air's just going through your mouth instead of your nose. May looked shocked at that comment. Mrs. Weller smiled. Sorry, dear, it doesn't really help to hold your nose, she said. One of the easiest ways to catch a virus, in fact, is to touch your nose with germy hands. May didn't move a muscle. She just kept sitting there looking surprised. Finally, I leaned over and tapped on her. She's talking to you, nose squeezer, I said. Lenny and Herbert laughed real loud. They enjoy my humor. After that, Mrs. Weller printed 4 rules on the board about how to stay healthy. Number 1, do not share straws or glasses or forks or spoons. Number 2, do not share food or drinks. Number 3, keep your hands away from your mouth, eyes, and nose. Number 4, wash your hands often with soap and water. She put down the chalk and glanced over at Sheldon again. Oh, and I'm sorry that I have to tell you this, but you can't hide from germs either. So if you're wearing a paper bag on your head, there's probably thousands of germs in there with you. For a second, Sheldon sat as still as a statue. Then, all of a sudden, he shouted real loud, "Ah!" and he quick pulled off the bag and zoomed straight to the sink, and he washed his hands and his face with soap, and his arms and his legs. After that, he quick took off his shoes to wash his feet, but Mr. Scary said no. We are not doing a full body scrub, son, he said. Your face and hands are enough. Sheldon looked upset. But germs can get other places too. What if someone drools on your arm? Or if you get burped on? Or what if you fall down on top of a sick person and he sneezes germs right directly up your nostrils? Mr. Scary rolled his eyes. Come on, Sheldon, now you're just being silly, he said. I've been around a long time, and believe me, no one has ever sneezed germs directly up my nostrils. After that, he took Sheldon's hand and he sat him down again. Pretty soon, Mrs. Weller had to go back to her office. But before she left, she took us to the sink and she showed us the right way to wash our hands. Room 1 lined up and washed very perfect. Then we waved goodbye to Mrs. Weller. We were sad to see her go, because now we had to do schoolwork, probably. But here's what we didn't know. Mr. Scary had a happy announcement. He was waiting all day to tell us. Boys and girls, I know we had a rough morning, but I have some news that'll cheer you up. In 2 weeks, our school is having an event called Parents' Night. Have you ever heard of this before? Lenny raised his hand. I have. My sister told me all about it. She said Parents' Night is the night when parents come to school and poke their nose in our business. Mr. Scary did a frown. That That's not really the best way to put it, Lenny. Your parents don't come to poke their noses in your business. Parents are interested in what we do here at school. So sometimes they like to come to our classroom and spy on us, said Jose. Butt in where they don't belong, said Shirley. Invade our personal space, said Sheldon. Mr. Scary closed his eyes a second. Then he walked back to his desk real slow and he sat down in his chair and he ran his fingers through his tired hair. Okay, let me just get right to the point. This year for Parents' Night, we're going to do something special. I was wondering how you would feel about putting on a play. My ears perked up at that word. A play? I said, kind of thrilled. A play? Said Herbert and Shirley. A play? Said May. Then, all at once, room 1 started clapping and clapping. A play! A play! We shouted. Yay! A play! I springed out of my chair. I know a lot about plays, Mr. Scary, I said. Last summer I went to a real children's theater and I saw a play about a mouse. And that thing was a hoot, I tell you. So maybe we could do a play about a mouse, too. Mr. Scary smiled. I'm not sure a mouse play would be fun, Junie B. Since it's October, our play is going to be about Christopher Columbus. We celebrate Columbus Day this month, remember? So Parents' Night is perfect timing. I thought it over for a second, and then I shook my head. No, sorry, a mouse play is still the way to go here, I said. Mr. Scary said thank you for my opinion and please sit down. I tapped my foot, kind of annoyed, and then I gazed my eyes around the room. All right, who would rather do a mouse play? Raise your hands, I said. Mr. Scary snapped his fingers at me. Snapping means the conversation is over. I sat down.